What's up, everybody? We're back again with another episode of the PopUp podcast. We try to talk to preachers or PKs. I am the PK.
I am the preacher.
And we are back again. Look, I want to talk to Pastor Rev Andre M. today about lasting relationships. I'm young in my relational life. Dated. I've been through several things, and I've been married. Been with my wife now for 7 years. I want to say, going on 8. And this is a new stage for us. And I don't know if people are ready for this, but when kids come, kids is different from before kids. You got relationship before kids, after kids, and then I guess while you have kids and after kids. But what would you say? Just we talked a little bit a few weeks ago about respecting women and relationship things that can occur that can sometimes make it difficult. I think a lot of Black women out there would want to know what are the keys to a relationship that will last at least 10 years, at least 20 years, which you've got that at least. And I like the fact that we can ask you this because you have the experience of, you've actually been in a relationship that long. And so what are some of the keys you think are important to a lasting, enduring relationship?
I'm going to have to try to give a real big granddaddy one that works is be the person you want to be with. Be the person you want to be with. Yeah. So
be the person you want to be with.
A lot of times when you're in a relationship, you see the flaws of the other person.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very difficult to get them to see their flaw if you're not rising to your occasion, up to the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happened, you'd just be playing tennis. I hit the ball over to show you your flaw. Well, shoot, you ain't all together either. And she hit the ball back. All y'all doing is volleying flaws.
But your flaw is this.
Yeah.
My flaw is that. That's good.
So what is it that you wish she had or you wish he had? Be that. Be that before you request that. I wish she would trust me more. Well, be trustworthy first. Then ask for it. Then demand it. Because really what a relationship really is, it's a mirror. It's a mirror into who you are.
Wow.
It's a mirror to show you how selfish individuals are in general. And then you have to start compromising. And so if you want to compromise to go your way, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not being super selfish, but it's easy for you to stand on that if you know you've compromised the other 5 times in the other person's direction. The last 5 times we ate where you want to eat. Okay, I'm going to eat where I want to eat.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But when you learn to give what you would want, would you like for someone to acquiesce to you 5 times to 1? Yeah, I kind of would. Well, are you willing to do that too? So it does 2 things. It number one, it lowers your demands.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, it can because it can make your demands more realistic. I want breakfast every morning at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when she's pregnant and you're the one providing the breakfast, you realize it's kind of hard.
It's kind of hard doing breakfast at 6 a.m.
every day.
This is a tall task.
Yeah. It adjusts. And so
why are you putting a demand on her that you really don't want for yourself?
Yeah. Or vice versa. Why are you putting demand on him that you don't want?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first one. That's a granddaddy one. That'll change a whole lot of relationships right there.
Wow.
Number 2 is be with who you're with, not the version of the person you want them to be. Boy,
this man
that was a preaching moment right
man
there.
got a jewelry store, gemstones. Man.
Yeah, be with who you're with. You have to learn how to live with who you're with, not the version of who you want them to be. Now, it's okay to have a version of who you want them to be, because remember what I said is you're being that person that you want them to be.
Yeah.
But by the same token, they are who they are.
Yeah.
Right now. And you have to learn how to be with them as they are, so that it's not always let's put it in a sports analogy. You want your child to be a 30-point, 10 assist point guard.
Yeah. For the university.
But actually they're 9 years old. And so if they come home with 6 and 4, you need to celebrate that.
Yeah, celebrate 6 and 4.
Yeah, because you realize where they are. They're not who you want them to be yet. But can you celebrate the 6 and 4? So can you celebrate the man that is? Because that'll encourage them to be the man that you want
them to
now, be. Number one, you have to want something that's already in line for them. Sometimes people want something that's not who you married.
I want you to be a pilot.
Yeah, you did.
It's like he don't even like planes.
He didn't even have a car license. He can't drive a car. But hey, I'm gonna turn him into a pilot. So women struggle with that more because they're fixer-uppers.
They see potential and they want to.
Yeah.
I can make that potential come to fruition.
So that's sometimes it's hard for them. But let's say that you really do see this is something that it's achievable. This is something they can do. Let's go back to the example. I know that this child can get 30 and 10 eventually. So I'm going to celebrate because I know they're going to get there. And so you can't rush the process sometimes.
Yeah.
You married who you married. You knew what you got.
Yeah. You got what you got.
You said yes to that, and so allow the process and the journey to take place.
Yeah, that's interesting for multiple reasons, because it's a little bit convicting, because I'm the type of person that's like, okay, we're always going to do more. We're always going to do this. We're going to wake up every day. We're going to exercise. We're going to eat bread. And I've found, at least that was my idealistic view of things. Like when I was single and lonely, and it was like, well, if I had this person, we would get up every day and we would run around, in 500 miles a day, and we would do all these, adventurous things. And then, and we did do some of that early on, but as time went on, it's like, we got kids now and we got lives, and it's like that stuff is not as realistic. And so it is a bit convicting when you say that, because, I'm not running every day. I'm not even walking every day. Me, let alone I say, hey, we gonna do it together. So it is funny how you mentioned, like, what standard do you want to hold yourself to before you're trying to hold them to a standard? And this idea of like, yeah, you want it your way, they want it their way. So how much are you going to just like not necessarily demand your way and take their way? And then maybe if you've taken their way 20 times, all right, okay, I want to do it my way this time.
Yeah. And even some fairness to it. And what if you do it their way and it doesn't work out, and you realize, okay, my way is actually probably better. How do you approach that? Like when you're wrong and you're wrong, how do you want someone to approach you with the fact that you're wrong? Do you want to be browbeat? Probably not. So when you're right, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm the man, I'm the head, I'm right. I know. You can be right in a better way.
Mm-hmm. How do you give some examples? How is a better way to be right? Told you so.
I told you so. And look, let's start with a wrong way to be right. See, you don't know how to handle money because your mama don't know how to handle money. Ooh. See, my mama know how to handle money, and that's why it worked. That ain't gonna get you nowhere.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal is you want, let's say in that scenario, you want her to trust your financial decision. Mm-hmm. So belittling her and her family is not going to get you to that. ultimate point. So there's another way you handle it just by the way you talk about it. Sometimes you handle it with silence. Sometimes the results speak for itself. You don't have to rub it in their face.
They'll come back to you, and the next time around, after the monetary damage is done, they'll realize the error of their ways and just say, "Hey, babe, can you help me with this?" Or what have you?
Sometimes let's back this all the way up and say, what I'm suggesting is if you've got the right person.
Mm-hmm.
If you got the right person, it's still going to be hard.
Ah.
But if you have the wrong person, what I'm talking about, you can throw that out the window. Because you could be right 100 ways twice till Sunday, and they'd be like, they're just stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care.
Yeah.
But when you have two people that care, they are, when I say the right one, I'm not saying that there's just one right person for you, but you got a real close proximity of a relationship that could work. Then that two people are both working together to make things work. And when two people are working together, then one person realizes when they're wrong. They may not want to admit it right away, but they are humble enough to say, okay, he's right.
Yeah.
And it's for the betterment of the family, or it's the betterment of the relationship. So another thing that happens, if you're working on something bigger than you, a lot of times you can shed you to work on a common goal.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people, they get into relationships for just trivial reasons. Nothing that they're not working on anything bigger than them, like a family.
Yeah.
Some people it's just about, we got good sex.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the kid comes, they realize, oh, we don't communicate well. Because you've never worked on anything bigger than just your own personal needs.
Right.
But like a situation like both you and I, like me, pastoring a church, I'm working on something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I realized early on that my wife was not just my wife. She was actually a co-pastor.
Mm-hmm.
She functioned well. Like she really could help me lead. Mm-hmm. So I needed to elevate her to co-pastor, to run things by her. You're running business.
Yeah.
You have a wife that you're going to need to understand certain business things. When you're working on something bigger than you, it really forces the relationship to grow up.
Yeah.
Like if all you care about is we smoke weed on the weekends and we have a good time partying, maybe you don't need the stuff I'm talking about. I'm talking about
this is more important type stuff. Like, and maybe that's what lasting relationships are. Like when you start to have somebody that you see potential of, okay, this could be something bigger than just us. This could tap into my purpose, or this could tap into our purpose together. Maybe, not saying it ain't gonna be hard, to your point, it's still gonna be hard, but maybe that's the right person because you're building something bigger than you. I like that as a thought.
Choosing your heart.
Choosing your heart.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So if you have a right relationship and you're working on it and you're both are trying to be built to last, you're choosing a better level of hard.
Yeah.
You know?
This is profound though, because I think that I really want to ask you this. Is it then potentially that you want a lasting relationship and we're saying you've got the right person, and some of these things will really help you if you have the right person, because it's still going to be hard. You still need to work things out. You still got to build something bigger than yourself. But what about if you have the wrong person? Is there, because I feel like there's this tendency now, or I've seen this with certain leaders and stuff, that they've gotten divorced and they've moved on and seems like everybody's fine. Is that okay? Is it not okay? If it wasn't the right person, it's seemingly like, okay, it's okay. It wasn't the right fit. We made a mistake. We were young, da-da-da-da-da. And so I'm going to have a better chance of having a lasting relationship. It's still going to be hard. I'm going to have a better chance of having a lasting relationship with this other person than me, never going to leave the person that maybe isn't right for me.
Yeah, that's a tough question. Now, sometimes you have the right person for you, but not the right person for your purpose. In other words, this is the person that, look, we vibe well together. if we don't have to work on something bigger than us.
Right.
We would be, if we weren't in the public eye, we'd be great for each other.
Yeah.
We don't mind fussing, yelling, fighting, and we come back. Our makeup sex is better after a good fight.
Right.
But since we're in the public eye, we can't throw stuff at each other. We can't.
Right.
So sometimes that happens to people. They are with the person who worked for them and on that level, that season, but then their life graduated and grew to another season and it doesn't work. Now, sometimes people, they like the person so much, is like, okay, we're going to make it work, but we just have to mitigate the damages.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, like, let's say at the time, I didn't care if I had a dude that cheated because I was doing my own thing.
Yeah.
He can count as long as he don't bring nothing home.
Yeah.
No STDs, as long as ain't no woman all up in my face. We can make it work.
Yeah.
But now we're pastor and pastor wife. Well, now he can't be running around doing that.
Right.
It changes. So then when I say mitigate the damages, now you have to go through a bunch of hoops because he probably still going to do that. So now I got to have walls like, okay, if you're going to do it, you can't, now you got to do it overseas where you used to just do it in my, so it becomes those type of things that, so when you try to make something work, you have to start settling for things you wouldn't have settled for.
Like so you're almost into the toxicness of it. You're going to try to make it work and you're trying to make it last or whatever. But at this point, it's clearly toxic. It's clearly some stuff that ain't good about it.
And some people, they function like that. And as long as nobody knows about it, they can get on because they've always functioned like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when the spotlight shines on it, you see, oh, this is dysfunctional. I'll give you an example. Not to, like I said, not to throw anybody under the bus, but when you look at Will and Jada, and then you see the slap with Chris Rock, and then you peer into what's going on, you see that they function on a high level of dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch it from the red table talk and all, but it's worked. They've been a power couple.
Yeah.
But it's been a level of
toxicity and
dysfunction, toxic. And some people have chosen for the kids, for whatever, we're going to make it work, but it's just going to be messy.
It's messy.
It may be lasting, but it's messy lasting. Yeah. It's complicated lasting. And so some people are not built for that. They'd rather get off the merry-go-round. We'll divorce. We'll just part our ways because I can't be in this forever like this.
Yeah.
So I think, to your point, some people do still stick it out because some people actually, like, I actually like the person. We like each other.
Yeah.
We're just messy. We're just complicated. She gonna once or twice a year take the credit card and run up a bunch of debt, and I'm gonna have to deal with it. I put up with it.
Yeah.
But I think when you are younger and you get to choose your heart, I would try to avoid that.
Yeah, try to avoid these crazy things.
And what I mean by that is try to think about where you might be in 20 years. Is this the person that, yes, they work now, but for where I think I might be,
will they work?
Will they start working? And that may make
dramatically change things.
That may change, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's all good advice for folks who want a lasting relationship. I think, many people say they want a lasting relationship, but what they really want is, something that's easy, something that's not going to require too much, something that feels like a fairy tale, a movie, sitcom, something that just like, oh, we're perfect for each other. Oh, we're a power couple. Oh, we're both successful, or we have a beautiful family. Like, we put these pictures in our mind of what we think we're supposed to have, what it's supposed to be like. And when it deviates from that, the relationship is like, oh, this isn't what a relationship is. When in fact, what I'm hearing you say is that relationships are hard. Now, you get to pick your hard. It can be, less hard. You get with the right person. You need to think about where you're going to be long term. But the one true thing amongst good or bad relationships is that you're going to deal with a level of difficulty. And you've got to, if it's going to last, you got to work through that. And how you work through it is really going to be an indicator of whether it's going to last or not.
Yeah, and yeah, it's whether it's going to last and how it's going to last. I read a book some years ago. It talked about the seasons of marriage and seasons of relationships. So there's spring and summer, which are the great times of a relationship.
Yeah.
But then there's fall. Fall, things start to visibly start falling off. And you got to handle it. Then there's winter. Every relationship is going to hit a winter where it's bitterly cold.
Wow. Every relationship is going to hit a winter.
And it's not always just about the relationship. It could be something on the outside. It could be your spouse. Y'all don't have anything going on, but your spouse's mom passes away. That causes a winter. Now you have to show up for them.
Yeah.
And that affects. So it's not always something you've done wrong against each other. It's just life has winters.
Yeah. And that's, it's funny because we went through that. My wife, we went through it on both sides. My dad passed away. My wife's mom passed away. And even, leading up to it was really, we functioned. It ended up being like a really great memory and a great time. But there was for months there where her mom had gotten taken ill and she was taking care of her mom. And that was a winter for us. Like, it was hard. I seen how hard it was on her. And then I'm thinking about how hard it is on me. And, the kids didn't. The kids loved it. They didn't really know no different. But there was some difficulty going through that process. And I think you're right. Like, you don't think about that when you with somebody or when you getting with somebody. Does this person still have their parents? Do they not? How is that going to affect them when they no longer have the person that raised them? And I think when we lost our father, there was definitely a season where it was harder than anything. I just was in a weird place, and I think I've come out of that in a better place now.
That brings me to a point that I should say. Sometimes as a relationship, you're not the person in the winter. The other person is in the winter. I'm actually in the summer, but I'm going to have to get cold for you
every time. Yeah,
for the relationship to last. I'm going to have to go through you. Like when Dad passed.
That's good.
I know my wife had to say that she had to give me some space, and I was in a moment. I was in a thing when my wife's mom was diagnosed with cancer. We found out the day that we were burying our Uncle Mario.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We just got there for the wake. I just dropped my bags down. She answers the phone and her whole face changes. And not only that, we had a brother who had just got sentenced to prison. And none of that had anything to do with me and her. But a winter was just forced on us.
And
we was going to have to work. And so, yeah, she's helping me with my uncle, but I was not as close to my uncle as she is to her mom. So even though I was grieving, I needed to get in a deeper cold with her. It just a lot of things, but those things you're forged in fire. I'm gonna let you kick back because I think I interrupted you, but that brings something else to my mind.
No, I have to keep going. I don't forgot what I was talking about.
Well, I was in a conference not too long ago, and it's called A Brand New Start. And I was a keynote speaker, and I spoke. But then afterwards, I was like, "What does brand new mean? Like, why not new? Like, why do we say brand new?"
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and it talks about a fire brand that and I don't want to get it wrong, but when something was coming fresh out of the fire brand, it was brand new because it was forged in the fire. It wasn't just new. Like when you get the car and get it off the lot, you say it's a new car. But when it first comes off the factory, all put together, that's when it's new.
That's when it's new. Yeah.
So when something's brand new, it's been forged in a fire.
That's good.
And so sometimes what happens with relationships, the reason why they can last longer is they keep hitting cycles of newness. A lot of times the newness is forged in a fire.
Right. You're going to get to the newness, but you about to go through another fire.
You go through that fire. And that fire brings, because you see people, when you see somebody in all seasons, then you know what you really got.
Right.
As long as you only have dealt with a person in the summer season, you really don't know what you have.
So jump back to this though. The summer, I'm in a summer, she's in a winter. She's in a spring, I'm in a fall. Like there these varying seasons. How do you navigate that piece of it? Like to your point, you said you had to get cold, even though it's like I'm not totally where you are, but I gotta go get where you are to comfort you or to be there for you.
Well, what happens is you realize it shouldn't be that way. What hurts her should hurt me automatically.
Yeah.
So if I'm so focused on work that something going on with her mom doesn't affect me, I'm not close enough to her yet. So when that happens and you have to get in the same space together, it teaches you, actually, we need this.
Yeah.
Like just regularly, if you're cold, you need extra body provide warmth.
Right.
So she should never have to go through these things alone.
Yeah, and you got to it recalibrates you and her together as a
unit
force, as a unit, as a relationship. And then, I think it's very true because the sadness, the forging, that brand new that you just talked about. Yes, nothing like, I don't care what happens with, hoping me and my wife last for eternity, but no matter what happens, nothing can take the place of those moments. Like when I lost my dad and when I found out and when she hugged me and when I cried, it's like you don't get that with everybody. And it's like that don't, I'm getting emotional right now thinking about it.
Me too.
But that is so powerful that you don't think about, like, the relationship ain't just the sex. It ain't just, watching movies, for some of y'all smoking and partying. Like, that's cool, but that's like, it's like beginner phases. Like, that's when you young and you trying to da-da-da-da-da. But as you really go through life, and it's like you got a force that's going to go through the fire with you. And that's,
yeah, that reminds me with our dad. So I remember I found out going to work, talking to mom, and she was like, you got to tell your siblings that he may not make it through the night. Mm-hmm. And so it was my job to tell you guys. And of course, we were praying for the opposite. I get off of work, nothing has happened. Phoenix is 3 hours away from where we were, so it still was through the night, but I'm like, maybe I get home, go to sleep, and we'll have another day. We'll get good news. So I told my wife, and then I just blurted out. I said, I'm scared. I said, baby, I'm scared. And she just said, I'm sorry. It was just something about that brought me comfort. I didn't tell y'all, but I was sharing with her. I'm scared.
Yeah.
I know I'm hoping for the best, but something in me is saying I'm going to go to sleep, but when I wake up, it's not going to be good. And that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
When I woke up to a call that said, hey, he's not coming back. But it was something about her sorry that felt like she was in the winter with me. Like, I'm scared. I'm scared. Not only am I scared with you, but I'm sorry that you're going through this.
Right.
And I wish I could do something, but her being there for me and just in that moment, that provided me some warmth.
That's powerful because, like, you had to be vulnerable enough. Like, we don't get to be scared. You're the man. You're the protector. We just talked about that on a few episodes ago. And we got to be strong. But just having somebody you can be broken with for a minute, weak with for a minute, like, and someone that can help comfort you is like, it really reminds you of, wow, this is what lasting relationships can do. This is why it's worth it to not get your way on, the YouTube or the Netflix movie you want to watch or like I cannot get my way every time if I know that one time when I do need somebody, I don't have to go through these winters, these really tough times alone, or the successes alone.
Yeah,
you got somebody to share in the spoils with, so to speak.
And I always get nervous when people say, "Oh man, my boyfriend's just like me. My girlfriend's just like me. We got so many things in common." But then what happens when y'all both get hit sometimes you need a yin to your yang.
Mm-hmm.
You need somebody that can balance you out. And as me and my wife grew, we actually grew apart in the sense that I realized we don't have that much in common.
Yeah.
Like, I like being on the roller coasters. When we go to amusement parks, she don't want to ride them anymore.
Right.
When we first were dating, she would ride with me, and I was like, "You tricked me." She's like, "No, I was being a good girlfriend. I was doing what you wanted to do." But I don't like heights. And I was like, dang. So, like, we're not as much as like as we thought, but that's what's made us lasting. It's like, when I'm weak, she's strong.
Yeah.
When she's weak, I'm strong.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't want someone who's just like you.
Right.
Because y'all might flip out at the same time. You need some balance. And so sometimes, not always wanting someone to be just like you, to think just like you, even vote just like you. Now, in this election cycle,
right.
I want somebody to vote like me. But
yeah, please vote.
But
like me.
in other cases, you need somebody to see what you don't see. I can be outgoing and too trusting. My wife can be reserved and skeptical. But sometimes I need that skepticalness. Because I done went and took a handshake and thinking everything's okay. And she's like, "But what does the document say?" "I don't know. We just shook hands." "No,
Right.
You need to look at the document."
Right.
"Oh, you're always just so nervous and skeptical about people." And I'm learning, well, I'm glad she was, because I found out I was too trusting.
Right.
So sometimes it seems odd, but sometimes lasting happens to having someone who's not just like you in everything. You want to vibe on some things.
For sure.
But a lot of stuff is not important that y'all just think alike, because you're going to need that other voice, that other eye. All that helps with the lastingness.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. A thought came to me while you were saying that about lasting and being slightly different and, going through things together. And, I think that, I'm trying to figure out what can we tell people so they can help understand how to get to lasting, right? And I think it's everything we've been saying, but I'm trying to sum it up in a way that's going to really give people that wisdom of, like, this is what lasting looks like. And it sounds like, to me, again, it's this, what was I going to say? I think it's like a negotiation. So when you think about negotiations in business, it's always like something on the table, right? And it's like, okay, I got this, you got that. And the more demanding I am, the less reasonable I am with the negotiation, more likely the negotiation breaks down. And we have to walk away from the table. You get upset, I get upset, whatever, and no deal is done.
So we both get nothing.
Both get nothing out of it.
Okay.
But it sounds like a lasting relationship is like, you got to figure out a way to negotiate in such a way where you walk away with something. You may lose this negotiation in a sense, but as long as you can keep negotiating to kind of keep the thing going, like, okay, I'm going to give you everything right now, but I know in the future, you won't forget that I gave you everything. Or I know it's like this idea that I have to trust you so much that in this relationship that I trust you're going to do the right things with my heart, with my money, with my time, But it's this constant negotiation if it's going to last. And at a point, you don't do what's right, then it's like, all right, is this worth it? Do we keep doing this? But it's like, I feel like that's something folks can take, is that if you're going to have a lasting relationship, it's going to be a constant negotiation. And how demanding you are in that is either going to come back to bite you, or you end up getting nothing, or how relenting you are in that could serve you, where it becomes, you set the pace for the negotiation. All right, it becomes win-win. All right, I want you to win. I want you to have what you want tonight. I want you to have time for yourself. I want you to not have to do this or that or that. I'm going to acquiesce, as you said earlier, to my desires and kind of put yours first. And it seems like that's the constant thing that I'm hearing that could make the thing lasting.
Yeah, I like that. It reminds me of Stephen Covey. He talks about win-win. So you want to get to a win-win. And that gives me one other thing that I'm going to bring up But in between, it reminds me of something that I acquiesced in that ended up being the best decision I ever made. So me and my wife's parenting styles were different. Loved dad the way he was, but dad was very authoritarian.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted to be. Look, you only get a couple of choices, I'm pulling that belt off.
Yeah.
My wife wasn't really raised like that. And so I was just going to be like, you can do it your way. But when it's my turn, look, I'm whooping some tail.
Whooping some butt.
Yeah, I'll do it my way.
Yes, sir.
But then I thought, she's with the kids a whole lot more than I am.
Mm.
And I just started thinking about the way my work schedule, she's really with it. She runs a daycare.
Mm-hmm.
They actually were able to go to her daycare. I was like, maybe I should trust her and her style.
Mm.
Maybe I don't have to enforce my style. Because at the end of the day, I was realizing it was a lot of ego.
Mm.
It was a lot of, it worked for me. So I just started backing down a little bit. And I started seeing how much people were talking about how great my kids were. Like, man, your kids are so smart. That I'm talking about a little age. The first time one of them got their hair cut, they were like, kids don't do this. Like, your kid is sitting still. He's talking to me. And I'm thinking, I don't have a lot to do with this.
Right.
They're with her all the time.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I'm going to have to do it her way because she knows what she's doing. And it's produced results. So that leads me to the last thing that I thought about Stephen Covey. He said, begin with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about that, when you come to the negotiation table, you got to begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Do I want a partner or do I want somebody that we're going to always argue to get what we want?
Right. So
if that's how you start it, that's how it's going to be. And it may not last as long because you can't be at war all the time.
Yeah. It's like, do I want a partner or do I want an employee? Do I want somebody that I'm going to sit at the table with and it's going to be a decision, or no, it's my way or the highway?
Or do I want a partner or do I want an opponent?
An opponent, right? Boom. I like that even better. Do I want a partner or do I want an opponent? Yeah.
So when you think about that, then there's times that on both, and I'm sure if my wife was here, she can say ways in which she took down and took my way. But let's see, in just a few months, in March 2025, we'll hit 25 years of marriage.
Yeah, congratulations. That's huge.
Quarter century.
Quarter of a century. And probably at this point, is this most of your life?
Yeah.
More than you've been with her more than you've not been with her through life. And I think that's dope because you've got a real testament of a lasting relationship. And so what you are saying, we can truly take as evidence. May not agree with everything, may not, I don't know. Other people may have different perspectives, but from your perspective, this works.
This works, and the work's not done.
And the work never stops.
Because
sounds like
I've known people divorce at 30 years, and especially when the kids get out the house, they realize we don't even like each other.
Right.
So, hey, I got to double down and do more, but I'm beginning with a new end in mind, which is some glory years of us being together. So I got to double down, do the work, and what I'm telling the people, I plan on continue to do it so I can keep lasting. Yeah,
let's keep lasting. I think some stuff we still trying to figure this out, the dating thing, like continuing to go on dates, continuing to get to know each other, because you are ever evolving as a person and as a couple. And so it is very easy to just, do we even know each other anymore? I see how that could happen with the kids, and I can see how over time it's like you become different people.
Yeah, change.
Because of time and life and work, and does it ever stop? But I think the biggest thing I get is that, you gotta, what'd you start this with? Being the person you want to be with. Be the person you want to be with.
Yeah, be the person you want to be with.
And I think that's really telling, because it puts the onus back on you.
It does.
And it's not the other person. It's on you.
Mm-hmm. And let's just give it one final example. If you change, wouldn't you want someone to tell you, oh, I changed? And not just expect them to put up with this new version of you. Like, Like my wife, when we got together, she did not like coffee. Now she goes to Starbucks more than anybody.
Yeah.
And one thing she told me, she's like, I changed. I didn't then. I do now.
Yeah.
And she communicated that change. And so for me, she was basically saying, like, when you change, I need you to make that same communication. She was being what she needed for me. And I was like, oh, okay. So even in the little things, if you be the person that you want to be with, it's gonna help. It's gonna work out in the long run. All right, y'all. That's a lasting relationship. That's some advice on that. I hope it helps y'all as much as I believe it will help me. This is your boy Stephen Motivate. This is the relationship guru, Rev Andre M, Pastor Andre Mitchell.
25 years, real and in the flesh. Until next time, it's the PopUp Podcast. Peace.
Holla.